Do you like fantasy football and sports betting? Come join us here at the Parlay Fantasy Football Podcast, where hosts Matt, Shane, and Jason talk about fantasy players, lineups, and sports betting to help you compete and win championships. And of course, some extra cash. Let's jump right into the show.
Welcome back to another episode of the Parlay Fantasy Football Podcast. Matt, Shane, and Jason with you guys tonight on this lovely evening. And tonight is the fantasy episode. We talk news, notes, fire, and ice. Shane kind of does his thing on those things. And then we kind of go through the lineup of the games of the week and who we like, who we don't like. But before we jump into that, how are you two gentlemen doing tonight?
I am doing fantastic, sir. It is great to be back, and it is great to be talking football on what is Bye-pocalpyse. Although I don't like that name. Can we find a different one? Because, come on. There's got to be something better than that out there.
I'll let you find it.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Yeah, Shane, you're usually better at thinking up of names on the spot, but
I didn't name this one. This was not mine. It was already dubbed that. I was just lazy.
Huh?
Yeah.
Plagiarism. Yeah, no. Hey, doing great. Glad to be back. Fantasy playoffs are around the corner. And, the bye week right here kind of hurts if you have players on these teams and you're in the mix of it.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. Yeah, Shane, so fun fact, Shane used to be this entertaining, and he's still entertaining, but he used to be a pretty damn good DJ. And me and him used to do some hand-in-hand stuff. I did videography and he did DJing, and not that kind of Shane, get your head out the gutter. But anyway,
hold on.
The way he
Sorry, what was that?
These nuts.
No, the song.
Sorry, you just walked right into that.
Yeah, I walked into that. But some of the stuff that he would come up on the fly emceeing for the crowd, it was spectacular. So Shane, you find a new name. You dub a new name for this. It'll be our name we use. Maybe it'll catch fire.
Okay.
People start using it. You know what I'm saying? But if you guys want to, before we jump in, if you guys want to find us anywhere, you can find us on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Spotify. Look up Parlay Fantasy Football Podcast. Click that little subscribe button. Leave a 5-star review. Comment. Helps out the show, guys. Head on over to fantasy6pack.net. Become an all-access member today. Use promo code ParlayFF. You guys will have tons of access for fantasy, relevant information, not just in football. If you like any sport, baseball, golf, all that kind of stuff, it's over there. Lots of minds, lots of articles, draft strategies, cheat sheets, fantasy advice, start sits. It's all over there. And it also gives you access to the Discord channel. There are hundreds and hundreds of people using that Discord channel. And if you have a question, it will get answered so fast. And I've tested this. I've asked questions on Sleeper. I've asked questions on other platforms, and it always seems like it takes minutes to get an answer. And sometimes you don't have minutes. You go over to Discord and ask your question, and it's answered within seconds. You can see someone typing within seconds. So get your all-access member, guys. It really will help you in your fantasy seasons and betting and all that kind of stuff. It's awesome. If you guys want to find Shane on X, you can find Shane at Shane Parlay FF. You can find Jason at Jason Parlay FF. And you can find myself at Matt_Parlay FF on X. Go over, ask us questions, get more involved. So, anything to add?
Yeah, don't forget at Parlay Shane on Blue Sky, baby. We are on the new Bird app.
And I did actually sign up. I haven't really played with it, but I have signed up, and it's at Matt Parlay FF over on Blue Sky. I'll start getting more involved with that. Shane actually just sent Jason and I an invite to that this last weekend. We're signed up on that. We're trying to integrate with that as well. So, yeah, Shane, good point. Good point. Jason, anything to add?
Nope. Ready to rock it.
All right, Shane, take her away.
All righty. It is time for the dreaded, the unfortunate,
It's time for news and notes.
All right, fellas. It is that time of the year, which means that we have a fun one here. Joe Douglas, you're fired.
You gone.
Sorry, buddy. You're gone. Another one bites the dust in New York. A casualty of the Aaron Rodgers team is honestly well deserved.
Yes.
But it is he's gone. The interim is Savage. So we'll see how that works out. We'll see who they can recruit to be the new GM there. But yeah, things looking sad in New York. Jake Ferguson, Fergalicious, is unlikely to play in Week 12 after sustaining a concussion this past Monday night football game. Gabe Davis out for the season with a torn meniscus. So, not that anybody was playing him in fantasy recently, but you can't now because he's on your IR. And speaking of not playing somebody in fantasy, Daniel Jones benched. He's benched. Gone. Tommy DeVito, the DeVitster. Those of you that are on the audio side, all of us were doing the Italian, the celebration. And this is how that's how we feel about him starting because Tommy DeVito is terrible. So RIP Malik Neighbors, RIP the New York Football Giants. All things bad in New York. I guess New Jersey actually, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually caps it. We have not a whole lot of news and notes. Everybody relatively maintained their health this week. So that's positive.
Yeah.
Considering the fact that there are 6 teams on bye, and let me read those teams real quick. The Atlanta Falcons, the Buffalo Bills, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Jacksonville Jaguars, London Jaguars, the New Orleans Saints, and the New York Jets all on bye, which I think the Jets are happy to be there. Well, I'll just put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so freaking crazy. Before we actually, Shane, before you get into the next segment, I do want to ask you guys. I guess, no, we could talk about it. We could talk about it in the weekly matchups. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go.
We'll wait for that.
Well, the next one, guys, is one of my favorite segments. So let's just hop right in. Fire and ice, baby. We are back. And let's start off with one of the hottest running backs in the game. Put some respect on his name because it's Brian Robinson Jr. And that man is making defenses his junior because he is on. Yeah. And expect that to continue this week and probably for the foreseeable future. They're playing Dallas this week, and Dallas's run defense, as we just saw, get torched by Joe Mixon. Not to say that Brian Robinson's Joe Mixon. Do not come at me. But he's a damn good running back, and he will put up some serious points. I project him. He's currently projected for 13.7 fantasy points. I expect it to end somewhere in the 15 to 17 range rather than the 13 he's currently projected at. So just go ahead and mark that down. If you're curious about starting him, just do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
Now, lad, McConkey, come on down. You were playing the Baltimore Ravens this week, who are one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL, and Kyle Hamilton did get banged up again in the game this past week. So, lad McConkey is an absolute fire play this week and also has been tearing it up in fantasy. If you have not been paying attention, I believe he's wide receiver 6 over the last 4 weeks. Is that correct, Matt? Something like that?
Yes. Him and Quentin Johnston are both wide receiver 1s over the last 5 weeks.
Yeah, that's insane. And fire up Lab and Conky. They're playing the Ravens. Should be a high scoring game, but we don't know with the hard bubble. We'll find out. It will not be as low scoring. I'm going to stamp it now. I'll stamp it right now. It's not going to be as low scoring as the Steelers-Ravens game was. So I'll just go ahead and I'm planting my flag that there's going to be more points.
I would bet.
Rhamondre Stevenson is on the fire list this week as well. He is playing the Miami Dolphins, who have been absolutely atrocious against the run. if you guys listen to our betting episode, you guys know how I think the New England Patriots could dispatch the Miami Dolphins this week. And Rhamondre is basically owning this entire backfield and not going to give it up anytime soon. And gets all the checkdowns, gets all the runs. I fire him up. You're going to really enjoy the fact that they're playing Miami. Last but not least, I just realized we have 2 Chargers on here, so that kind of makes me want to throw up as a Chiefs fan. Will is a fire starter this week, playing against, again, the Baltimore Ravens. Disley is absolutely tearing it up as of late. He had 16 points against Cincinnati, and he had a insane 11% target share for a tight end. That's pretty crazy. 16% target share. My bad. Which is pretty crazy for a tight end these days. I can't read, apparently. So yeah, fire up Will Disley if you are in need of one of those tight end players this week with all of the buys and, Jake Ferguson being out. Now, for the knots, guys. The fire has been spoken. The ice is here. And have no fear, Tony Pollard is the top on the list because the Titans play the Houston Texans. And Tony Pollard, I don't really know how to say it other than he's not good. He rushed for 15 yards on 9 carries against the Minnesota Vikings. He averaged 1.7 yards per carry. That is insane. He doesn't get a more favorable matchup with the Houston Texans. Both are stellar run defenses as of late. If you can find a way to bench Pollard, do it. That's what I got for you.
I agree.
Speaking of Minnesota, Sam Darnold is on the sit list, which you should already be sitting him. But if you are not and you need confirmation bias, they're playing the Chicago Bears this week. And despite an excellent showing against Tennessee last week with 23 points, things don't look right in Minnesota. So we're just going to go ahead and nix him for the foreseeable future. They play Chicago and then Arizona. Then they play Atlanta, and then they play Chicago again. I don't want anything to do with that schedule to run into the fantasy playoffs. I'm going to be honest with you. So if you have alternatives, which I'm assuming you do because it's Sam Darnold, play them. Maybe Geno Smith. Look at Geno Smith. He's out there in most leagues. DeAndre Swift is on the ice list for the foreseeable future. Khalil Herbert has officially stamped himself as a lead member of that backfield. He actually had 56% of the touches in the backfield and handled 3 of the 6 goal line carries. So, DeAndre Swift, my guy, we had been calling for it all year, and then he has these 3 blow-up games, and then just Chicago's like, nah, fuck this guy. Get him out of here. It's the funniest thing. We've been like, hey, you have, or I said Khalil Herbert. You have Roschon Johnson. Johnson is who I was speaking of. You have Roschon. Why are we not using him? And that was apparent. There it was all along. Last but not least, Chubba Hubbard. He was on the not list not too long ago. But hey, it's here. The appearance of one Jonathan Brooks. Not only that, they're playing the Kansas City Chiefs, who have one of the best run defenses in football. I'm sorry, Chuba. I'm out this week and probably for the foreseeable future, unless it truly is you are 1A to his 1B. We'll revisit that after we see what happens. But yeah, I'm not testing that theory going into what is probably very key weeks for players in the NFL and in fantasy. And that's our hot or not this week, guys.
Jason, any thoughts on that?
You think Jonathan Brooks is going to get that many touches this week? Or are they going to ease him back in?
I assume they ease him in, which does make Chuba like a spot start candidate.
Right.
But it wouldn't shock me to see Miles Sanders is also hurt. So I think that there's a chance that Jonathan's kind of thrust into more than what they wanted to give him, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so it wouldn't shock me to see him like handle 7 to 12 touches.
I personally think, Shane, that he's gonna. It'll be interesting to see what he does this week, and I totally love your ice play of Chubba Hubbard. It's going to be interesting to me because this is the first. They want to see what they have in Jonathan Brooks, and right now is the perfect time. They obviously we know Chubba got a massive contract, so he's not going anywhere,
which is insane.
Yeah, it's so insane, and all the Jonathan Brooks owners are just like, well, damn, because we all thought it wasn't. We all thought it wasn't going to be like that, but I think you're right. I think this could be a 1A 1B situation where Jay Brooks he handles more of like the passing down, third down role. I mean, it could. You never know. I guess it could turn into something like a timeshare like David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs have. But yeah, it's who knows? Who knows? I do think they ease him in though.
What's their nickname over there? Isn't it like Sonic and I can't think of what's the other one? Sonic and Boom or whatever it is.
It's Sonic and Hedgehog, but
no, Sonic is a hedgehog. It's whoever Sonic sidekick partner is. That's what their nickname is. Somebody dubbed them that.
It was Sonic and Tails, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think is it Tails? Hold on.
I can't.
You guys
Something
keep going. I have to find
He's
this.
Got to look this up.
Yeah,
what do you think, Jay?
I think Chubba was more so an insurance policy for Jonathan Brooks, just because you re-sign him, and I don't hate the re-signing so much, but yes, I could see if you are a dynasty owner, it would be upsetting.
Sonic and Knuckles.
Oh yeah, Sonic and Sonic and Knuckles, baby.
Yeah, Jahmyr is Sonic, David is Knuckles.
I like that. That actually fits very well.
It's a good tandem. It's a very, very good tandem. Yeah. Any other thing, Jason? You got anything else to add on that?
Nope.
I love the fire plays. I love the ice plays. Remember what Shane said at the beginning of the segment. There's a lot of buys going on this week. So if you feel like you have to play some of those ice players, we're not telling you not to play them. We're just saying beware. There could be some better options.
Backed into a corner, most people are this week. I saw a tweet about somebody in a dynasty league that is being forced to start Jermichael Hasty.
What?
Just off of basically they were like, we have really deep benches, and he's the only player that's not on bye for my team at the running back position this week.
Oh, imagine if you were just left to only start like Taysom Hill last week.
Oh, geez. Don't remind me. I had him on my bench in 2 leagues.
Yeah, but Taysom Hill, he always gets that 1 week every year. That 1 week blow up.
Had video game numbers last week. Okay, well then let's jump into our weekly matchup, boys. We all know how this works, guys. If you've listened to us in the past, and if you haven't, go back and listen to some of our episodes. You guys can get a little taste of what we talk about here. Actually, real quick, before we actually jump into the weekly matchups, I want to know, how are you guys looking in your fantasy leagues? Because obviously, fantasy show, trade deadlines are more than likely passed for the majority of leagues. There's some that probably go through the end of next week, or the end of this week, but all in general, how are you guys looking in your leagues? I mean, we're all in like 4 together, so I kind of know how you guys are doing in those, but
full transparency, I have 2 leagues that I'm undefeated in of the 6 I am a party of. And then the other ones, one I'm second, and the other ones are I may decide that this week I need to rebuild leagues.
Yeah, I'm sitting at half and half in and out of playoffs. The half that I'm in, I have 2 leagues that I'm like either second. I don't think I'm top dog in any of my leagues at the moment, but yeah, dynasties. I have a couple of rebuilding dynasty teams right now, to where it's just older players that haven't worked out. But I mean, it's one of those things where, yeah, like what Shane said, you got to really pick and choose if this is going to be the week or not. Where it's like, do you want to throw in the towel a little bit and help rebuild for draft picks and see if you can get some of these buyers right now? But other than that, yeah, it's about half and half.
And it's funny. Like this year, I feel like this is probably one of my worser years in fantasy in the last few years. I won a championship in 2 of my leagues last year. Not looking so hot. Those were keeper league, or one was a keeper league, one was a dynasty league. I'm in with a couple of my other buddies. The leagues I'm in with these guys, I'm sitting okay in 2 out of the 3 that we're in together. But Shane, you were not here last week dealing with some family stuff going on. I asked Jason a question last week, and I want to get your takes on it too, because obviously the trade deadline's passed. But if your trade deadline is still open out there, at what point do you determine whether or not you kind of want, like you look at the future schedule, you look at who you're playing in the future weeks to come. You're a meddling pack team. You might not have as strong as roster. At what point do you decide, Shane, as a fantasy manager, whether or not you want to lock in some assets for the following year, or do you want to sell some assets because you know you have to sell some to make a run at the championship? Because ultimately we want to make playoffs. You just need to make the playoffs and you get lucky in the playoffs. But I asked Jason this question last week. I want to get your thoughts on it so the subscribers out there can kind of gauge the way they're doing things. So what do you think about that?
I think the hot spot for deciding what your team is about week 8, because you have enough games. But like if you can chalk some of your losses up to injuries or something like that, you can be like, okay, I can compete this year when those guys get healthy. And if you're setting, near 500, near the break, you're like, okay, I can still compete this year. And I think you have to reassess. I think you need to reassess every week, but I think you need to reassess at like week 8, and then you should start assessing at week 6, and then reassess at week 8, and then reassess really hard at week 10. Because week 10, if you're 7th on a list of 12, you have to decide, hey, am I jumping people, or is it time to be like, hey, this isn't my season. I may have a good team, but like I'm not competing, and like it's just going against me. So like might as well just throw in the towel. And especially in Dynasty, like you basically have to hope for like one magical run. And it's time to cash the chips and push those veterans on. Actually, what I think, Matt, is that in Dynasty leagues, trade deadlines are a scam.
You don't think we should?
Yeah, it's fake football. Why are we stopping people from trading?
I don't know. I never even thought about that.
Now, you should maybe consider locking them when playoffs happen. But as soon as playoffs are done, you should allow people to trade again. And even if playoffs aren't done, I think that trading in playoffs is fine, because it forces teams to evaluate whether they truly want to go for it this year, or if they truly want to rebuild. And you can increase the value of certain players if injuries happen in the last couple of weeks. Like I think that's something we need to talk about as a dynasty community, and like as football, like a fantasy football community, is how stupid are trade deadlines in a fake game.
That's a good point, Shane. I never even thought about that. Dang, we should have, because we started a podcast dynasty league this year where we got some other guys from other platforms and other podcasts to join our league. And I seen on there was a trade deadline, and we should have asked everybody if we want to remove that trade deadline.
Now redraft, I think it's necessary.
Yeah, redraft is necessary. But Shane brought up a good point. Yeah, there should not be. I never even thought about that before, Shane, because we trade all year anyway. Maybe you should put something out there. Maybe we should put some out there and remove that and have access to trade all year.
Yeah. If you could lock it for 3 weeks, like lock it for your playoffs, sure, you can do that. But like, I honestly think that, like, why not? Why not let the guy who like is trying to go for a championship, he wins week 1, being like, hey, I'll give you this first round pick, and I'll give you this rookie that got hurt, or this guy that got hurt, if you give me XYZ player. Like, why not?
Yeah, dang, I never even thought about that. Dang, that's a good point. That is a damn good point. Never even thought about that. Hell yeah. Maybe we ought to put something out there. My last question before we get into this is, when you're making trades, when you're making big asset trades, like let's just hypothetically say you're out of the playoffs, or you deemed yourself out of the playoffs and you want to make a play to rebuild your roster. What kind of players are you trading to get, better, draft picks? Because clearly you know the stereotypical guys out there. Shane actually is, we've all dealt with it, but so many players in fantasy love their draft picks so much, or love their players so much. They think they, deserve a better player, or a better pick. So like, at what point do you make that determination? Well, this player is, worthy of a second round pick next year, or a first round pick. Like, what kind of assets are you trading to potentially rebuild that roster? Are you trading away your like high powered assets if you're in a dynasty league, like a high power asset to get a first round pick? Are you more like, this dude's still a starter, he's a little bit older, but he's still a starter, and then you okay getting a second round pick, or are you trying to get a first round pick? Like, what kind of assets are you trying to trade for that?
So it honestly depends on if I'm wanting to do a full teardown or if I'm wanting to like rebuild for the next year, because certain teams are just not salvageable in 1 year.
Right.
And so like you just have to be like, okay, everybody's available. And like you're going to get rid of guys like Quads, and you're going to get rid of guys like, Jalen Hurts and CD Lamb. Like those are guys that you're going to have to get rid of because they have value. Now CD would cost a pretty penny. So like that's something like if you're like, hey, I can rebuild, I have additional depth at wide receiver, I can rebuild without CD. That's something you have to think about and go from there. And it's a team by team basis. But honestly, I try to go with an assessment of where my team's depth is and looking at this draft class and deciding, hey, if I move off of wide receiver and I'm getting a first round pick, can I find someone of equivalent value in the draft this upcoming year? And if I'm doing so, do I think it's a 3-year window when that guy's good? And like, is it equivalent to this guy currently is? Or like, what's my window? Because if you don't plan it like that, you end up getting caught in like having players who are not peaked yet, and then you have players who are peaking, but they don't match position wise. And so like, you have to think about it holistically and approach it as can I find a replacement for this player if he's not on my team?
Yeah.
And so, for example, running backs next year, there's a ton of running backs. Mm-hmm. If you have a middling running back on your team, if he's a running back 24 or lower, and somebody offers you a second round pick for him, take the second round pick.
Yeah,
because there are so many running backs in this upcoming draft that are good and will be available in the second round of your dynasty draft. And then you just continue to file that in, and you fill that spot with quantity and quality. But like you start to build the quantity at a position that you're weak at.
Yeah. I agree with you. Jason, anything to add there?
Yeah, I mean, like what Shane was saying about like trading a big time asset for picks. If you aren't doing the research, you can just dig yourself into a deeper hole. If you just say you get, I don't know, a first, 2 seconds, and a third, and if you don't do your research on those picks to where it can actually help your team out, you could have just made your team a hell of a lot worse, because you are putting a lot of trust in rookies, and there's not a lot of rookies that can make your team that much better year one. You know what I'm saying? To where some of those picks you got to turn into other players to where that aren't going to be draft picks. Yeah. Where you got to look at it both ways, where you're not just getting these picks to invest in the draft. You're investing these picks to go after younger players that other people have that might not have, that they might not value as much as you do at the time.
Yeah. I always like to tear down. That's like if I'm trying to tear down or like rebuild, my favorite thing to do is to take a guy in, tier 2, be like, hey, this guy's a, RB2 or a wide receiver 2. I will trade you wide receiver 2 for wide receiver 3 that I think has good upside. And I'll be like, and then you throw in a third, or you throw in a second. Like, you want to like make it feel like it's a good deal for both sides. Like both teams should feel like they're winning. And that's something that, like, not enough people preach, is like a trade is a partnership, and you're agreeing that like you're both trying to get better. So like if you're both holistically looking, hey, this makes your team better, it makes my team better in the future, we both win in this in this scenario. That's what you should be attempting to do with every trade.
Right. For example, like Tyreek Hill 2 years ago, and how he went absolutely berserk And to where the best example that I can think of, like if you would have traded him and that was the only good asset, we got a couple first and a second, like Nico Collins after his first year. Decent receiver, put up numbers, but you could have got him for a second round pick. And people would have been like, yeah, cool, whatever. Less than 1,000 yards, couple TDs, whatever. Now, shit, I don't even know if a first round pick would get Nico Collins.
It'd probably take multiple.
Yeah, so it's just little things like that's the one thing that popped into my head. I'm just giving an example to where, I mean, you can trade assets for picks and use them for players that you spotlight out.
Yeah, I like that. Well, that's a little advice for you guys out there when you're making your trades and your decisions. That's something to think about. And it is, it's go time right now. There's 3 weeks until the fantasy playoffs start. So if your trade deadline is still open and you need to make a move, go and make a move. Do it smart. Make sure you're comfortable with it, and go from there. All right, let's run through this week's games, guys. We'll kind of fly through some of these just because there are a lot of teams on bye. So by now, this time in the year, you know in your heart who you're going to sit and who you're not going to, who you're going to start for these teams, okay? So we'll try to narrow down our banter about the players you're going to start. So the first matchup, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Cleveland to play the Brownies. Again, this is a game where you might be a little confused on who to start, who you should not start. You obviously know the starters you're going to play. The one thing I want to ask you guys about the Cleveland Browns is, are you flexing? Are you flexing Jameis Winston? A little information here. He's on pace to throw for like 780 attempts, over 5,000 yards and like 34 touchdowns. The dude just chucks the ball downfield. Is he a player you're willing to start this week?
Hell no.
No, not against Pittsburgh.
Okay. That is right, boy. Steelers, baby.
I know you're trying to fluff that one up, but hell no. Did you see the over-under in that game? It's like 38, 36 or something like that. No. He might throw 3 picks and throw the ball 40 times.
I just wanted to say it just because the stats he has. So out of the normal starts, is there any, or even just starts, is there players you're comfortable with, players you want to play stream wise? Is there anybody in this matchup?
Shane?
In this matchup, Jaylen Warren and Nick Chubb. If you were somebody who buried Nick Chubb, I don't hate the matchups for either player. Elijah Moore.
And Njoku.
Yeah, Njoku's been peppered. But again, in such a low scoring game, I don't know that I really want to try to fire up assets. So unfortunately, if I'm doing it, I'm trying to start the Steelers guys, and there's only like 3 guys that are worth starting on the Steelers.
Yeah, and that's fair, and I agree with that.
Najee, Pickens, and who's the third? Freiermuth?
Warren. I don't.
Warren.
Warren. Yeah,
Warren.
I don't even know that I want to. If I can avoid starting Freiermuth, yeah.
Oh, I agree with you.
You should.
I agree with you.
Hunter Henry's available in most leagues.
Yeah. No doubt. Will Disley. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's move on then to the next game, guys. You have the Detroit Lions traveling to Indianapolis to play the Colts. The big question is, and I'm going to put you on the spot, AR-15. A lot of people are, I'm sure, out there questioning, was QB like 2, QB 6 at the beginning of the year, then dropped to like QB 28, then like 31, then like 27, then missed a couple of weeks, and then last week had his showing. What do you guys think here? I'm gonna put you on the spot.
I mean, if they game planned the game around what they did last week and let him run the football, yes. But it just seems like they don't do that on a week-by-week basis. I feel like he could have a good game versus the Lions. Their pass rush is not the best. Their secondary is pretty stout, so hopefully it's more of a running game plan with them. I do think that you fire AR up because I think you did invest a lot into him early in the round. I know it's kind of nasty work to trust him to go 2 straight weeks, but Lions, you already know who you're firing up on that team.
Oh yeah, Lions.
Everybody.
The question is do you start Michael Pittman?
No,
I don't know if you do.
Josh Downs. Yes.
Yeah, Josh Downs is
Yes,
the only
I think
player.
Josh Downs is a must start.
And Alec Pierce if you're in a tight spot.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I mean, I know the Lions have a good rush defense, but Jonathan Taylor kind of scares me this week too, because if goal line plays, they're gonna let Anthony Richardson, I would assume, let him run. I mean, he took the goal line runs last week.
They are gonna pepper him though, just to get that run game working.
And you're gonna start him. You're gonna start him if he's healthy. I'm sure you're gonna start him. But yeah, so those are the only players, right, from that squad.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that Anthony Richardson is playable this week.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. I like it. Do you AR-15 or Sam Darnold?
AR-15.
AR-15 or Geno Smith? Should I just wait till we get to Geno Smith that game?
Yeah, give me a second to think about that.
I'll wait till we
I'm gonna say Geno.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Geno.
Okay. I like it.
I like that pass rush for the Cardinals.
Yeah, the Cardinals are a surprisingly good defense, but I think that I think that game will be high scoring.
I agree with you. I do agree with you on that one.
Off a bye.
Mm-hmm. We're not talking about the game itself. We're talking about the players.
Yeah, just the players, Jay.
I know. I like him off a bye to game plan for Geno, especially after Geno ran the football a lot last week.
It's okay. You like AR. Shane and I like Geno in that play. We'll just see what happens. All right. Next game, you got the Kansas City Chiefs traveling to Carolina to play the old Panthers.
Yeah.
Well, we know who we're starting. We don't think Pacheco's going to start or play. If he does, it could muddy the waters with the backfield there. Do you like Xavier Worthy?
Yeah, I mean, in the bye week fill-in, yeah. They made a concerted effort to get him the ball, and I mean, against the Panthers, you might as well just go ahead and feed him again and see if you can't build some confidence going forward. So yeah, I do. The sneaky player I have is actually a Panther player.
Is it Adam Thielen?
It is Adam Thielen.
Oh yeah, boy, he's coming back this week.
He is coming back, and the Chiefs, have been struggling against that second wide receiver, and I think they're going to treat X as the wide receiver one, and I think that Thielen will be in the slot a lot.
I like it. I actually like that play too, Shane. I like Thielen coming off IR. We know what happens when he's on the field. He does get peppered with targets, so I do like that play. Do you? Well, obviously we're not starting Jonathan Brooks. We want to see what he kind of does this week. Chubba Hubbard, like Shane, the Chiefs have a good rush defense. I'm assuming if you have to play him, you're gonna play Chubba, right?
He's still gonna catch the ball, so he's still gonna get PPR value. So that's the nice thing, is like it's not gonna go completely away, but.
And I'm assuming, Shane, you like DeAndre Hopkins here in this matchup?
Yeah. My only issue is I'm worried that the Chiefs are going to quickly get out in front
and run the ball.
I know we don't. Yeah, I know we don't typically blow teams about, but getting out in front and then just running the football and ending the game.
But I'm assuming you like Kareem Hunt here in this spot.
Yeah, if Pacheco's not going, Kareem is the play.
Okay.
I wouldn't play him.
You wouldn't play him?
No, he's saying like
Pacheco.
If you're the Chiefs, I wouldn't play Pacheco.
Yeah, my bad. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a game that I think they should win.
Back, start him.
Yeah, they should win this game without him and let him rest one more week.
Do you trust Kelce this week?
The Panthers are a terrible defense against tight ends, so
yeah.
I mean, you don't have a ton of other options, and
yeah, it was just hard to watch last week with what Kelce got.
Yeah, but it's still hard to. It's still hard for me. I don't know what Shane thinks. It's hard for me to sit a guy like Kelce, Hall of Famer.
Oh, you can't. Yeah,
you're starting him. You drafted him high, and you don't. There's no tight ends that I feel tons more comfortable with starting that I would have on my roster.
Right. All right, next game. We have the Minnesota Vikings traveling to Chicago to play the Bears. Could be an interesting game. Could be some good fantasy implications in this game. Obviously, on the Viking side, you're starting there. You would not start Sam Darnold this week?
No
Sam Darnold, no Jordan Addison. Would you start JA or what?
I don't mind JA. Teams have been attacking the Bears on the perimeter after the debacle of the somewhere over the rainbow pass. Yeah, I think that you can start Addison. I don't know if I'd start him with confidence, but yeah, you can definitely fire him up.
with bye
Hawk?
weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hawkinson.
Oh yeah, definitely Hawkinson.
Yeah. Yeah. Chicago side. Shane and I
Rome.
talked about it before the podcast. We love Rome. Swift, you're obviously probably going to start him, but I would maybe look at if you have a different option on your bench. I think the Vikings defense is a pretty good rush defense.
Does DJ Moore even exist over there?
He's currently ranked higher than Rome Odunze
He is.
in fantasy rankings for this week.
He has it on my fantasy team recently.
They both had basically the exact same stat line last week.
Yeah. And I guess I haven't been watching the Bears close enough. Is Cole Kmet dead? Like, is he getting play? Or is he
He's
getting
playing?
Is he getting points?
He's playing.
He's out there.
I haven't been paying
know.
attention to Cole Kmet at all.
He had 42 yards. He had 42 yards on 3 catches on 3 targets.
Their offense did look
Anemic.
better last week.
Yeah, but it still looks anemic.
Oh yeah, I was trying to think of a better word, but
Are you
better.
starting Cole Kmet then, or no?
No.
No. Okay. I just want
Start
to
Will
get that out
Dissly.
there. Will Dissly. Yes, sir.
Start Zach Ertz.
Oh yeah, I like that. Did you see that, Shane? I started him in our Yahoo league.
Yeah, I did. I laughed.
I was like, I got Jaden. I'm just gonna fire up Ertz. They're playing his old team. I was like, he's probably gonna get some play. And I did an anytime touchdown bet on Zach Ertz.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, 15
Yeah.
points. That'll do, donkey.
That will definitely do. All right, guys. Next game's gross. Speaking of the Washington Commanders, they're playing at home against the embarrassed Dallas Cowboys, according to CD Lamb in his press conference. He said teams are just out here to embarrass us, and they're winning. So, yowzers. What do you like here?
CD.
I mean, that's got to be it. Ferguson's not playing.
Rico Dowdle,
Did he forget how to catch a pass?
yeah.
He got thrown the ball 3 times, 3 hits
He had
in the
5
hand.
targets. He had 5 targets and he caught 2
Oh,
of
he-
it. 5.
Oh, he had 5. Okay, but I know he dropped 3 that hit him in the hands.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's gross.
he had not a great day. 4.4 yards, but Washington is a much more favorable defense for the matchup wise.
True.
So
That is true.
maybe Rico's not a terrible play this week. They're gonna have to move the ball. They're not gonna give up.
Yeah. So basically, CD, if you're in a pinch, Rico, obviously there's a lot of bye weeks, so you might be in a pinch. You might have to start him. Washington side, Jane Daniels, Terry McLaurin, Zach Ertz, Brian Robinson.
I like Eckler for a flex play if you need it.
Yeah. I would actually flex Eckler over Scary Terry at this point.
I agree. I agree 100%. I agree 100%. Is that it for the Commanders?
Yeah. I mean, if you're desperate, Noah Brown.
How many targets did he get last week?
Not many.
I want to say he got like 4 or 5 targets, maybe.
He had 4 targets. He got 1.
Oh, that's not good. Come
1
on,
for
Noah.
4 yards. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But,
I guess if you're
but
in a
he
pinch.
does have, it's a good matchup, and he has a 15% target share since week 3.
Yeah,
and a
you never know.
20% first read share, which is very, very nice. So
Yeah. I don't mind it. I don't mind it if you're in a pinch. Flex them out. Next game, you got Tampa Bay Buccaneers traveling to the Danny DeVito New York Giants.
Sorry, I was yawning at the mention of this game.
I am too.
You're starting Mike Evans, Bucky Irving. Yeah, Kate Otten.
Yeah, K-Dot.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I can think about.
I mean, Rashad White, you can start, but they're going to be so far ahead that I think it's a Bucky game.
Yeah, and I think on the Giants, you drafted Malik Neighbors high. You hope
Maybe
he gets
Tracy.
targets. I'd start Tracy. I think they're going to hand the ball off to him a lot.
Yeah, and Tommy DeVito has no fear. Tommy Cutlitz is going to rip the ball, and I think Neighbors could get hyper targeted against what is a terrible
I would love
Buccaneers
that.
defense. I actually don't think that it's a bad thing that
Right.
Tommy DeVito's in. I don't think he's a good quarterback, but I think he may, create a resurgence for Neighbors because he's just going to be like, the rookie's down there somewhere.
Yeah. I think he's more accurate than Danny Dimes.
I think anybody's more accurate than Danny Dimes.
Just throw the ball up there.
At this point now, are you benching? At this point now, are you benching Wan'Dale Robinson? I know he got a lot of targets with Danny Dimes. Looked like a pretty relevant wide receiver 2, or for the Giants, wide receiver 2. At this point now, are you just go ahead and just say cut bait?
So we see something.
Okay.
I would maybe consider starting
him up.
Yeah, he's ranked as wide receiver 36 this year,
especially this week.
And they have a good matchup. So
yeah, okay. If you got to flex them out, see what happens. Next game we have another this is Shane's favorite game of the week. It's all of our favorite games of the week when it comes to the betting. Go back and listen to the last episode. New England Patriots traveling to Miami to play the, shall I dare say, fraudulent Miami Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, take this one away, Shane. Who you like on the Patriots side here?
On the Patriots side, Demario Douglas is an immediate fire up. Rhamondre Stevenson is immediate fire up. Hunter Henry is an immediate fire up. And then no one else. Aside from maybe you could honestly probably spot start Drake May.
Oh, I like that.
He isn't afraid to run the football, and that's really great, especially with the buys. He is averaging 41.3 rushing yards per game over his 6 starts. So, that's a really
nice.
safe floor. And
real nice.
Also, Miami's pass defense is not great. So, and they're extremely hurt. So, I mean, there's definitely worse options out there, like Sam Darnold.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like that. Jason, who do you like for Dolphins here?
I like Jonnu Smith to stay hot.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, you're firing up the other guys because you have to.
Are you benching Waddle?
Waddle.
Are you benching Waddle if you have the option? If you have the option.
Yes.
Are you benching Waddle?
Yes. At this point, to be honest with you, and this is going to sound absolutely mind blowing. I'd start Wan'Dale Robinson over Jaylen Waddle. I'd start Demario Douglas over Jaylen Waddle.
I agree with Demario.
Jaylen Waddle is just gone. He's gone. It doesn't even look like when he's running routes, he's even running hard anymore. It's already like he knows he's not getting the ball. It's very ugly. If you don't have the option to start somebody else, you're gonna fire up Jaylen Waddle just because of the name and his past history. But if I have another wide receiver on my roster that I know is going to get targets, I'm firing them up because you never know. Jaylen Waddle might see 1 target, he might see 2, he might see 4, but I don't know that he sees more than 4 targets.
Let me list Jaylen Waddle's fantasy points and tell me if you'd like him to be a starter for you. 1.6, 6.5,
No.
6.6, 7.1, 4.7.
No, because he got drafted in the 3rd round.
Kind of sexy.
He got drafted in the 3rd or 4th round in fantasy leagues, man. No, I will start up the other guys who get 8-9 targets a week.
Yeah,
but I hear what you're saying, Jason. It's very tough for the guys who drafted him. I am a guy who drafted him in a league, and I unfortunately am forced to play him because I sold all my other assets because no one wanted Jaylen Waddle.
I will say the one thing you can take a saving grace in is Christian Gonzalez will be covering Tyreek Hill. And the last time they played the Patriots, Jaylen Waddle saw 8 targets.
Okay, then that gives you a little bit of confidence. Shane, way to give people confidence.
Yeah, just a shining, glimmering piece of hope.
All right, we got a few games left here, guys. Let's go. Tennessee Titans playing at Jason's Houston Texans. Jason, obviously the Texans, you're starting all the players. Who do you like on the Tennessee Titans? Anybody? Calvin Ridley? That's it?
Think you named it.
Yep. All right. Let's move on then. That's an easy one. Texans are going to destroy them.
Could have been an email.
Yeah. Yeah. Denver Broncos traveling to the Las Vegas Raiders. On the Denver Broncos side, at this point now, you have to fire up Bo Nix. He could win Rookie of the Year. He looks absolutely phenomenal. And he is currently I know he's ahead of Jaden in some stats. I don't know which ones exactly, but I know you're starting Bo Nix. Let's just put it that way.
He had the best game out of any rookie last week for the whole
Oh
season.
yeah, I think he's minus 200 or 300 to win Rookie of the Year, or plus 200 or 300 to win Rookie of the Year, and Jaden's like minus 200 or 300. Yeah, it's tight. It is tight. Denver running backs, I don't trust them.
No,
I don't trust
Hell
them.
no.
I don't trust them at all.
I'm glad I wasn't on the episode last week because I totally would have been pounding the table for Roger Guesstimate. So glad that I missed this segment last week.
Yeah, and Sean Payton just keeps coming out and saying, whoever got the hot hand, you can't trust them. Cortland Sutton, Bo Nix, who else? Who else you like in Denver?
That's it. Devon Vele looks pretty solid.
He does look pretty solid.
I mean, yeah, I'd be comfortable starting him in a spot start, especially, with the crazy bye weeks, but I wouldn't expect an insane stat line.
What about Raiders? Bowers, Jacoby Myers.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all.
I'm staying away from that running back group. Madison got hurt last week, right?
Yeah,
Madison got hurt.
Zamir White's hurt too. Zamir White's hurt as well.
Yeah, stay away.
Garner
Minshew is going to air it out 50 times.
Probably.
Could be Amir Abdullah, or it could be Zamir White.
Yeah, Amir Abdullah is a pass catching back.
He's going to throw the ball a shitload of times.
Oh, yeah. I love it.
I said Zamir White. That's not what I meant. It could be Dylan Lobby.
Yeah, Dylan Lobby. Yeah.
Okay.
Bowers and Myers. That's the only people I'd start if I had to.
Yes.
Arizona Cardinals traveling to Seattle to play the Seahawks. We talked a little bit about this game. Obviously, we like Geno Smith this week. DK Metcalf, Kenneth Walker. You're starting the normal people, right? For Seattle.
Yeah.
Arizona, that's pretty easy who you're going to start there too. Trey McBride, MHJ. Do you like Michael Wilson this week?
They defend the pass pretty well. I mean,
it's in Seattle. It's going to be a little bit of a tougher matchup, but
Kyler Murray's been distributing the ball well too this year. It's not like he's eyeing on one guy.
Yeah, but it's pretty condensed as to who it goes to. I don't love it. I don't love it. There's got to be better options.
Yeah, I don't love it, but if I have to flex a guy out like Michael Wilson, you'll probably see a couple fantasy points. You might get a touchdown. I don't know, but I don't love it.
You mentioned James Conner too, though, right?
Oh yeah, you're going to start James Conner. The normal guys. You're going to start the normal guys for each team.
If Trey Benson's available, go pick him up. Just saying.
I just acquired him in a trade before the trade deadline last week.
Yeah, for real though. James Conner has never finished this entire season, and he's been healthy the whole season. So just saying. Not wishing ill on James Conner, but just saying.
God, you would say that, jinx.
All right, we got 3 games left. San Francisco 49ers playing at Green Bay in Lambeau Field. Should be a cold game there for the Niners and the Packers. Normal guys, right? Is there anybody out of the ordinary you like?
If I have an alternative to Deebo Samuel, I'm considering it at this point.
Okay.
He doesn't look good right now.
No, he doesn't. Green Bay side, wide receiver cores like Jaden Reed obviously is always a start for you guys, but do you like Christian Watson? Had a decent game last week. Romeo Dobbs.
I
Pick one and pray.
You might start Watson if you have to.
Yeah, I think legitimately with the Packers is pick one and pray. Like that's the only thing you can do.
What Jaden Reed have 2 catches for a touchdown and a touchdown last week?
Yeah. Super low volume, but he had a touchdown.
So, I looked at it and I was like, oh, TD.
Josh Jacobs. How many
points does he have? 10? 7?
Josh Jacobs saw like 6 targets last week or something like that.
Peppered.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs tore it up. Looks like he's coming along solid. So, all right, just start the normal guys like Shane and Jay said, and then if you want a Packers receiver, just pick one and pray. Next game, the Philadelphia Eagles traveling to Los Angeles to play the Los Angeles Rams. Another normal starters, right?
Yeah, no one special.
There's nobody in this game.
Maybe DeMarcus Robinson if you're like
feeling
spicy. If you're like Matt and you like the Rams in this spot,
Well, I think this could be a 30-point, like
It could be a
34,
slugfest.
31. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
It could
It
be
very
a
well
high
I
could
hope
be.
it is. This is Sunday Night Football, right?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yep.
This is like 3 weeks in a row of good football on Sunday night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Monday night. Well, aside
Yeah.
from the game that was if Dak Prescott is in the game last night,
That's a good
it's a good game. So
Yeah.
it's supposed to be a good game. But
Yeah, it was supposed to be. Yeah, for sure. Speaking of Monday Night Football, you'll start the normal guys from that game. Monday Night Football, you have the Baltimore Ravens playing the Los Angeles Chargers, the 7-3 Los Angeles Chargers. So
Quentin Johnson, Ladd,
Disley.
DK. I guess my question is Zay Flowers. I think you're firing him up. Mark Andrews.
Yeah, you're starting Zay Flowers because you drafted him highly and because you never know. He is a complete boomer bust wide receiver. Like you drafted him sure as shit knowing that the Ravens are who they are, and he's going to put up 170 yards and 2 touchdowns one game, and then he's going to have 1 catch for 20 yards the next game.
And he finally got his TD score with like a minute left in the game last week. And you're like, oh, finally.
Yeah. Mark Andrews, you're going to play just because of the bye weeks and where you drafted him. Derrick Henry, obviously.
Likely?
I think you can start likely.
Yeah, I think you can start likely, especially in this situation, especially with all the bye weeks, for sure. I mean, to be honest with you,
the Chargers are pretty good against tight ends, so that's the one negative thing.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, I mean, Rashad Bateman's been getting targets. Deontay Johnson is nowhere. Like,
droppable.
Yeah, he's droppable. Like, if you're in a spot start situation and you need to play somebody, Rashad Bateman would be a guy that probably will see 4, maybe 5 targets, and you just hope for a big play. But yeah, Charger side, it's pretty normal. And like we said before, you're going to start Will Disley. He's at that point now where he is startable each and every week. Justin Herbert's airing it out. QB6 on the year, the last 5 weeks. So
who would have thought it, like telling us after the end of the season last year, Quentin Johnson's a must start?
A lot of people would have said you're high on crack. But now you're not. Now he is actually turned into a decent receiver. So, and like I said, they're letting Herbert cook. So yeah, start the normal guys there and feel good about it. The Ravens are very exploitable on defense. So start them up with confidence. Okay, that's gonna do it for the episode, guys. That's the weekly matchups, the plays that we like, plays we don't like, players we don't like. It's bye weeks. You just got to get through it. You got to get through it and make your plays and feel good about it, feel confident about it. You just need to get by this week and then see what happens the next week. There are no bye games next week. So step 1, win this week. That's step 1. But yeah, that's going to end it. Remember, you guys can find us everywhere. Apple Podcast, Spotify for the audio. You can find us on the Fantasy Six Pack YouTube page here if you want to watch the video side of it. FantasySixPack.net. Go get your all access membership. Promo code Parlay FF. And on Twitter, X, whatever. And Blue Sky. We're going to start doing some stuff on Blue Sky. Shane's getting it cooking right now. With that being said, you guys have anything to add?
No.
All right. Well, then you all know what to do.
Cut Deontay Johnson and consider cutting CJ Stroud.
Ooh. Wow, I was not ready for that. Thank you, Fantasy Six Pack. Hey, and hopefully Bye-pocalpyse doesn't screw you guys this week.
Good luck this week. Get you a dub. Get you to those fantasy playoffs and be confident. That being said, we love you all to the moon and back. And until next week and next episode, peace out.